There's a fourth way to organizational flourishing for the organization inside your church, and at Align, we call it proactive mode planning. Now, I'm sure you've heard of plans before. You've probably even made plans before, but it is very common, not just for churches, but for any organization to struggle with plans. And in fact, maybe even to have gained a negative reputation or feeling around plans. The reason is that we often don't know how to make plans effectively for the future, that sometimes we think it's guessing at what the Spirit is up to and grading the Holy Spirit on how he's doing. I've heard some people describe it as feeling that frustrating, or not knowing what there is beyond the primary work of the church in preaching, shepherding, sacraments. What are we planning beyond that? What is responsible? So the work of planning for a church can on its own feel like something that you feel inadequate to do. But it gets even more challenging sometimes once the plan has been created. How do we move it forward? More importantly, what do we do when we struggle in moving it forward? Proactive mode planning is all about addressing and empowering this part of the life of the organization inside your church, that we are not designed as image bearers to live in reactive mode, letting life happen to us, that God has designed each of us with a healthy amount of agency. We learn this in the creation mandate and even in how we bear God's image. And of course, when we get together for a shared purpose like a local body, there are ways we are meant to take healthy initiative for the future. You could imagine what could happen in the life of your church if we didn't just respond to what was incoming, but we were also moving forward. We were getting proactive with the future. And in fact, over time, we were getting better and better at setting plans that were healthy and that moved us in the direction God was calling us to and making clear. And also that we were getting better a little bit over time to moving those plans forward and even identifying where we tend to get stuck or where I tend to get stuck, and seeking to grow in those ways so that our church can benefit from that proactive leadership, not just the reactive leadership that's so valuable as well. You can imagine what might happen in the life of a church if every now and then, let's say once a year, you update a plan and then move it forward, as we would recommend, 3 months at a time. That's a reasonable time frame. Learning along the way, things are getting clearer, and you can update that plan across that year in ways that aren't just responsible with what's coming at you and in firefighting mode, but in fact, getting out of firefighting mode a little bit at a time with the agency God's given you, and responding to what's outside your control and what he's making clear. That's proactive mode planning. I'd encourage you to think about it for your church too.